Ladies and gentlemen, we're going back to our roots. We're hitting up a tier list. It's the three-time champion of the WCP, thanks to Knock. And we are going to be doing a tier list. Let me introduce the group. First of all, the former champion of the WCP, Knock. How are you doing?
The demo god is here, man. I'm bringing views to the channel. I'm glad to have Anthony on here, man. I've been watching some of your videos, man. You do some good stuff. But
Appreciate it, man.
I'm glad to get to this tier list, man. Missed a few weeks of the tier list, but back on it.
That's right. For those you didn't know, we had to give Zach the walking papers. We have replaced him with a very smart man, Anthony from Rated R for Rasslin. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for having me, guys. It's awesome.
Awesome indeed. Zach, awkward way to deliver the news, but how are you doing?
I'm good. It's gonna be weird having my last day. It's gonna be weird, but I'm sure I'll steal some shit and throw someone down.
So basically, our first collab video on the channel, I believe. Oh well, Kyle, but this is our first like pure wrestling collab. We're gonna be doing a tier list for every WrestleMania that has happened so far. We're going to rank them as usual from S class all the way down to F. So Anthony, we have a special rule for these tier lists though. What we do is by the end of this, there can only be one entry in the top, the grandest stage of them all.
Ooh.
So we somehow, some way, we're gonna have to root out the greatest WrestleMania of them all.
That's a tough one. Tough ask.
That really is.
Word.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys already have one that you think should go there already? Do you have an idea?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah. I have one in mind. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see where it is. But for right now, let's get straight into it. We're gonna start things off with the classic, the OG WrestleMania the first. This was the one we had Hulk Hogan and Mr. T team up to go against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. We also had Wendy Richter with Cindy Wapner defeat Leilani Kai with the Fabulous Moolah, and Andre the Giant defeated Big John Studd in the 15,000 Body Slam Challenge. Zach, I'm going to pass it to you. Do you have any notes? I know what you're thinking, but do you have anything notes? Because I know you came prepared. Do you have anything special to add to this Mania?
This was just a big feeling. This is what it was. This is kind of the thing that I don't know if it's going to go back to it again, because I don't even think it has been when there were crowds, but this was a big deal. It felt like a big deal. It felt like a big boxing match. It felt like a boxing promotion going on at the time. And even the mid-carders with Ricky Steamboat and Matt Bourne and the IC title with Junkyard Dog and Greg Valentine felt like mid-card to main events too. So I love this Mania.
Very nice. That said, I think I'm gonna put it in this is WrestleMania in the B category. That's my vote. Actually, I'm sorry. No, I got confused. I was thinking WrestleMania 2 already. I'm gonna vote for the grandest stage of them all.
Really?
I think it goes up there. Just because without this, there is no other WrestleMania. What about you, Knock?
I'm gonna go with this is WrestleMania. This was a hell of a show. It's the first one that kicked it off. It's in the Garden. You know, New York does it best. That's all I'm gonna say. But a great main event, Mr. T and all that. My boy Ricky Steamboat got a win, so it was a good good card overall.
All right. How about you, Anthony?
I look at this one as just, it's all nostalgia, and it's just, it's basically takes its place just because it's the first one. For me anyways, I just see the card in general, not a ton of long matches. I'm looking at the card right now. The longest match was 13 minutes, and that was the tag match at the end. It's just, I mean, they had a 25-second match here. It was King Kong Bundy versus Special Delivery Jones. Tito Santana defeating the Executioner. Yeah, Brutus Beefcake taking on David San Martino, and then did a double disqualification. You had Junkyard Dog versus Greg Valentine. That's a good one. Iron Sheik and Nikita Koloff taking on the US Express. I mean, they had some stuff here. It's just, I guess, I would put it more like in the good show category, just because for me, it's all nostalgia.
I dig that. First of all, damn, you are hosting this much better than I am. But,
I wasn't gonna say shit,
but I dig that. Do you guys remember any of the other celebrities that were there besides Mr. T and Wendy?
Yeah, Liberace, he was there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Was this one Muhammad Ali too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And was this one Bob Uecker, or was Bob Uecker?
Bob Uecker, I think, was 3.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And am I thinking? who else am I thinking? It wasn't Elton John here, I feel like.
No.
No, right?
That would be really cool if he was.
Ray Charles?
Ray Charles might have
might
been.
have been.
Or was
I think
he
Ray Charles did like the what do you call it? Oh,
America the
beautiful.
Beautiful?
Yeah, America the Beautiful. Like I think in one of the beginning ones. I can't remember. Yeah, but
Yeah.
That was very nice. You know what? You talked me down into it. It wasn't gonna be my final vote for grandest stage of them all. I would have voted back down with This Is WrestleMania, but I think I'm gonna put in Good Show. I think you've talked me into it. Zach, how about you?
I'm gonna put it in Good Show. I put this in kind of in This Is WrestleMania, but the fact is there are so many kinks to be ironed out, and once we get a few more into this, you'll see more that are going to go up in the ranks.
Yeah.
Very fair. All right, then. In that case, WrestleMania number 1, 3 votes to Good Show. It's going there. Pretty simple process. All right, next up, WrestleMania 2. This one we have got in the main event. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this was the one with the 3 venues, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, this is 3 venues.
Yeah.
And this is also the only WrestleMania besides one, I'm thinking, that did not take place on a Sunday. It was on Monday. But in the main event, we had Hulk Hogan defeating King Kong Bundy with Bobby Heenan as the manager for the WWF World Championship. We had British Bulldogs defeating the Dream Team, Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine. We had Mr. T defeating Roddy Piper by DQ in the boxing match. Knock, any thoughts on this one?
This one I remember a lot for Mr. T and Roddy Piper match. I think number 2 wasn't as good for me as number 1, honestly. I might. What you,
No,
what you gonna say?
I agree with you.
The whole different venues thing that definitely throws it off a bit. I like the idea what they're going for and taking a chance. But again, I love Ricky Steamboat, so him being there, I remember that match a lot. But and then the Battle Royal with Andre the Giant was cool. But I'm gonna go mildest stage of them all.
Okay. How about you, Anthony?
This one, I think, is just such a letdown from the year prior. Remember, it's like this, the sequel to the good movie. So that's the problem, right? You try to redo it and it kind of falls. So I'm gonna put in Glorified House Show. It's another one that has like no match longer than about 13 minutes. Let's look at the card here. Remember, they had the WWF versus NFL Battle Royal.
Yeah.
With Refrigerator Perry in it, and that, I mean, there's some spots here. I mean, you have Adrian Adonis on the card. Like he said, Knox said Ricky Steamboat was on there, took on Hercules Hernandez. The cage match against Bundy, I mean, it's Bundy, It's that. But the 3 different venues is a throw off because they keep cutting back and forth. So they're in Nassau, they're in Chicago at the Rosemont, then they're in the Los Angeles Sports Arena. So it's just like it's back and forth. It just threw me off, and it's like, to me, it's like the sequel to the really good first movie. And I'll put it in Glorified House Show.
How about you, Zach? You agree with that?
I agree with that. I never really revisit this one. I occasionally go back to Roddy Piper and Mr. T just because I'm a Piper mark. But honestly, this one bored me. And just like the energy in each Coliseum, like the energy was just kind of sucked out as they went to another Coliseum and took breaks. So you can kind of feel that watching that on Coliseum home video VHSs.
Actually, it's one more thing. It kind of feels like when they did the Raw 25, when they were cutting back from the Manhattan Center back to the Barclays, we're just a throw off. It's weird. Yeah.
Yep.
It is very strange.
The one my boy Lawler fell asleep in.
Oh man, I can't imagine being in the wrong venue. Like if you really want to see Mr. T and you get screwed over because you're not in the right venue.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. Yeah, it just didn't work. It was experimental, but it just didn't work. So, sorry, Vince. Next up, we're going over to WrestleMania 3. This was Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, the scoop slam that we have all seen played over and over, a moment in history. Other matches, we had Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart defeat Jake Roberts, Ricky Steamboat defeat Randy Savage, a classic, and Butch Reed defeat Coco Beware. Rest in peace, Butch Reed. Anthony, any thoughts on this show?
For me, this show would have to go into I would have to pull it into the good show territory just because it's a super long event and it's basically just 2 matches, right? So you have the main event, Hogan Andre, with the slam heard around the world that Hogan says he broke his back just trying to do it. Then you have I'm a big fan of Honky Tonk. I've always have been. I don't know. I like the way he gets as much heat as he does. But you obviously have Savage, Steamboat, and that's like the match heard around the world. Everybody knows that match. So that's like the match that pretty much takes it to the good show spot. But it's another card card where it's like the longest match was Steamboat Savage, and honestly, that was only a 14.5-minute match. It seems like it would have been a little bit longer, and the main event being 12. For me, it's that Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage that takes it up to the good show mark for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. You go back now, a lot of people when they look back on that match, it wasn't a great match. It wasn't a good match. It was just that moment, just the scoop slam is what really still keeps it relevant. But yeah, Randy Savage and Steamboat, they made the show. So I completely agree. Good show. How about you, Knock?
Because of, again, my boy Ricky Steamboat, man. I rewatched that match with Savage. I studied a lot. Everything about that was so crisp. They don't do a lot of crazy moves compared to today's standards, but everything's so crisp and well done, and the storytelling was off the charts. For that match alone, it would be This Is WrestleMania, but like Anthony was saying, man, the rest of the card doesn't really stack up for that level, so good show.
And Zach?
Yeah, same deal. Next one and future WrestleManias is when the characters start having more importance on television. So even watching this as a kid, I mean, I really didn't care about Sheik and Volkov versus the Killer Bees. Stuff like that just didn't really get to me. And being that long and being a kid at the time when it came out, it made this, even when I go back and watch it, it's a good show.
I dig it. All right,
I think the best thing about the show was the little ring carts that take him to the ring. I think that's probably the best
that
part.
is amazing.
That's what it took so damn long.
Sure, yeah.
And I just got to ask, Anthony, that video game in the background, is that the WrestleMania where they come down on the carts?
No, it's the WrestleFest one. So it's a bar top arcade. It has a bunch of them on there, but it has WrestleFest. But they don't come out in the little carts though.
Okay.
This man got the setup.
I dig it. Came to impress. All right. We go on next, WrestleMania 4. This was the 14-man single elimination tournament for the undisputed WWF Championship, where Randy Savage would defeat Ted DiBiase in the finals. Zach, I feel like I heard you speak about this before, or maybe I just always think about you when you're on my mind. I don't know.
That's what it is.
What do you have any thoughts about this Mania?
I love this Mania because going into this was really... It wasn't like nowadays when they have a tournament, you kind of know who it's going to be. Like right now, if I watch SmackDown, I know it's going to be Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, or Edge or something who's going to face Roman. Like in this tournament, it was just really cool. It was really fresh. I feel they should bring this tournament back for a Mania, or at least maybe for like the men and then have women's matches. But I really love this. I love this Mania. I do rewatch this Mania. I'll put This Is WrestleMania.
Ooh, okay. What's you, Anthony?
For me, I'm gonna have to put this one. I love Randy Savage, especially this era's Randy Savage, and it was supposed to be his crowning achievement. Like that was supposed to be his time, but again, here comes Hulk Hogan, kind of implementing himself into the match, helping him win, takes the spotlight. I look at the card here. Longest match was Jake Roberts versus Rick Rude, and that's probably the best match on the show. Roberts versus Rude. I'll put this one. This is gonna have to be. I'm a Savage guy, so I'll put it. This is WrestleMania.
Okay.
I do like the tournament style, but it's just, a lot of the matches weren't like all that great.
I think I'm gonna go one below you guys because I could not rewatch. Like, if the only way for me to rewatch this is it'd have to be a punishment after a prediction because it's very long, isn't it? 14 men.
It is long, yep.
Like I have a hard enough time watching Raw just because of how long it is. And
keep in mind, when I was younger, though, like we didn't have like shit and phones to distract us. So
yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Longevity of putting that VHS tape in.
That attention span was a lot longer back then. Yeah,
that's true. Damn. So I think I'm gonna stick with good show, but I'm not mad if it goes in This Is WrestleMania. So now you get the final vote.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I agree with Anthony with that. Like, it's supposed to be Randy Savage's moment, but again, Hulk Hogan is over there trying to steal the shine.
We got about 15 more of those.
Yeah, seriously, bro. But yeah, it was a really good main event. Besides that, I think the Jake Roberts and Rick Rude thing, even though they both got eliminated, it was a draw. But that was probably the best match in that tournament. I'm gonna go good show. But if you want to break the tie, I'll put it in This Is WrestleMania because I think the Randy Savage stuff did put it over.
We'll put it low end of This Is WrestleMania. It makes it. All right. Next up, the Mega Powers explode. Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Knock. I'm guessing that you obviously, if you were watching this live, you'd be a Randy Savage fan.
Yeah, 100%.
Unfortunately, life doesn't go the way we want it to. Hulk Hogan would get the win. Hulkamania would run wild. Where would you put this WrestleMania, Knock?
Real quick, is this the one where what was that movie Hogan supposed to be in? This is the one where like
No holds barred.
Yeah.
yeah,
This is the one like before, like right before that.
that was the guy's supposed to be in this Mania, but it bombed. So
6.
that was 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I would have loved to see Savage get that victory, but I think it's a glorified house show for me, to be honest. I love that Kurt Hennig got a win on this Mania, though.
Very fair. How about you, Zach?
I'll put this one as good show, but again, a lot of this is nostalgia for me. A lot of this is the characters that I watch once a week in an hour span on a Saturday morning started to show, and they started to get a little more cartoony, more appealing. That's why it's a good show to me, mainly the nostalgia factor. And yeah, the Hogan train keeps rolling.
Okay. And Anthony?
I'm gonna have to, because I put 4 in This Is WrestleMania. I'm gonna have to couple 5 with that one. I can't put 5 below 4. It's just in a personal opinion. But like this WrestleMania had Demolition in it, winning the tag team championships or defending the tag team championships. You had Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior on this card. You had the Hart Foundation on the card. Jake versus Andre you had on the card. For some reason, you had Brutus versus Ted DiBiase going 10 minutes. That makes no sense to me. But it's just, I think Hulk Hogan versus Randy, the main event, I think that is the single best storyline in the history of professional wrestling. The entire storyline from WrestleMania 4 to the whole issues with Elizabeth, the subtle way they created that storyline and how that was all set up with like the lust in the eyes and all that, the jealousy from Randy Savage being its real life too, jealousy and how protective he was of Elizabeth. I think that storyline just in general is the best storyline they've ever done, and I think that's what elevates it to that tier of This Is WrestleMania.
Damn, I'm torn because I think we have a 3-way tie right now.
Let me add one other caveat that I like too. So we talk about Bad Bunny now. Celebrity in this, Piper's Pit, Morton Downey Jr. Yeah. That was kind of a big deal at the time because he was such a loudmouth. Like, the censors were crazy on his show because he just swore. And to have him on stage with Piper was actually pretty damn cool.
Damn, that is cool. I think I'm going to break it and put in This Is WrestleMania. Just because I really do appreciate the long-term storytelling of Savage and Hogan. Because I mean, you look at that poster and you automatically know what's going on. That's just a moment that can't be forgotten. All right, next up we're going to WrestleMania 6. Can't talk today. Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, WWF Championship on the line against the Intercontinental Championship, where Hulk Hogan would take the L and break and kick out at 3.1 seconds. He couldn't just lay down for just a full 3-second pin. Zach, where does this WrestleMania go in your mind?
In my mind, this is the grandest stage of them all. This is one of the big ones. This is so huge to see a face being built up while still champion, face the guy that, like, even as a kid, even being a Hulkamaniac, I was done with him by this point. And to see Warrior win, not only that, I mean, the rest of the card was pretty fun too. Again, a lot of the cartoony kind of characters with like Earthquake, Hercules, and stuff like that. But like Brutus beat Kurt Hennig, but Kurt Hennig was in there. He was my guy at the time. You had Macho with Sherry at the time too, so that other turn, and Ted DiBiase and Jake. And so it's always a good dynamic with Jake and Ted DiBiase. Too true.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. I will agree. Because I don't know what's the modern day equivalent of Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior that we've seen, really. Can't think of anyone.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even go Rock Cena because Cena's already established like as the guy at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really think there's an equivalent to it.
Yeah. I'll agree with you, Zach. I'm willing to put that in grandest stage of them all. Let it make its way.
Dusty and Sapphire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Knock? Where would you put this?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go there also. I think that, the Ultimate Warrior, that could have been Savage the previous year, and that was a huge moment, man. As far as like replicating that, I think what we talked about before, like if they were to have Big E go against Roman Reigns at Mania and take that'd be the closest thing we'll get to that Warrior beating Hulk. But I'll go with This Is WrestleMania for sure.
All right. How about you, Anthony?
I would go with the same thing. This is WrestleMania. It's just you remember it so well in your mind when you think about WrestleMania 6. You just remember it well. Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, obviously, you know what that match was all about. Even though the Warrior run wasn't all that great afterwards, and they kind of just flipped it back, it still was such a great moment because he was such a fan favorite. Like Zach said, Jake versus Ted DiBiase. You had Rude versus Snuka. You had the Hart Foundation here taking on the Bolsheviks. You had Demolition again. You had, there's one match here. Oh, you said it too, Zach. Earthquake. I'm sorry, Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect was undefeated. So this is one reason I would want it drop it down one tier, just because they had Brutus the Barber Beefcake beat Mr. Perfect. But I'm gonna put it in the top one, grandest stage of them all.
Two things on that. One, that build up to that was really, really good with Kurt Hennig. I think that's why that match worked with me. And the unfortunate reason for Brutus Beefcake is merchandising was starting to work out for him, and also his relationship with Hogan.
There it is. Yep.
What he just said about Brutus, I'm be saying about someone else in the next menu.
All right. Oh, there's our first entry for grandest stage of them all. At the end, we'll do a low vote, see if it stays there. All right, we're gonna go on to WrestleMania 7. We have Sergeant Slaughter playing the role of an Iraqi sympathizer against the all-American hero Hulk Hogan. Anthony, any thoughts on this Mania?
All right, so this is going to be one of the lower ones. I'm going to put this one up there with probably WrestleMania 2. So it's a big glorified house show. I'm not going to lie. Like, I liked, if you look back in the lens of that time period, Sergeant Slaughter making that turn was a big thing, right? Because the current situation, we're in the Gulf War and whatnot. So Hogan doing that was awesome. I thought it was pretty cool. Looking back on it now, it's not that great. But you have Mr. Perfect losing again here to the big boss man for the Intercontinental Championship. Ultimate Warrior taking on Randy Savage was probably the Ultimate Warrior's probably his best match ever. And there was a retirement match against Randy Savage. He's there with Queen Sherry. Undertaker, his first WrestleMania, taking on Jimmy Snuka, the start of the streak. You got the British Bulldogs on the show, the Rockers on the show. So I mean, it's not a great show. It's a pretty bad one. So I'd probably put it down there in the glorified house show area.
Okay. How about you, Knock? Any thoughts?
I would have put it in the mild stage of them all, because like you have the Taker thing, but I can't let the Nasty Boys being the Hart Foundation for the titles. I can't let that slide, man. I might be a little biased, but I hate the Nasty Boys. I really do. It's a glorified house show for me, man. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. For everything you just said. I get in time that the Iraqi sympathizer angle was something different, but I look back at it now. I don't look back at it favorably. So it takes away some points from me. But how about you, Zach?
I'll agree with the house show thing. This is one that kind of turned me off from WrestleMania as a kid. Again, the Hogan thing was wearing on me, and what was I going to say? The blindfold match with Jake and Rick Martel.
Oh yeah,
fucking yawn. And then the other thing with the Hart Foundation is when now they wanted to start splitting up Brett and Anvil, just try to find future stars. But I mean, yeah, it's the Nasty Boys. Why did they win at Mania? I don't know. The Iraqi sympathizer thing played out over like Saturday night's main event and Superstars and stuff like that. It didn't really work for me either because he was still also just coming off of being in G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you going to be a real American hero and then be with General Adnan and all that shit?
Right. All right. I dig it. Next up, we're going WrestleMania 8. We've got two main events here, two taglines. We've got the Macho Flair Affair and Friendship Torn Apart, as we've got Ric Flair defending his title against Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan facing Sid Justice. We also have Roddy Piper defending his title against Bret Hart, and champions Money Inc. defending their titles against the Natural Disasters. Ah, man, I'm leaning towards a good show, but I want to hear, Zach, what are your thoughts on this one?
This is the mildest stage of them all. The only thing that really needs to be revisited to me is Piper and Bret Hart. And you can keep going back to it after you keep getting story after story after story of the relationship between Bret and Piper and how they helped each other out and Bret really helped Piper out. Otherwise, this was, the main event was supposed to be switched, but egos collided. So we didn't get what we were supposed to get. So yeah, I don't really dig this one.
Fair enough. But you, Anthony?
Yeah, I'd agree. Put it in the mildest stage of them all. I mean, I like Sid Justice and Sid Vicious, whatever you want to call him. I liked him. I thought he was just absolute money. Just looking at him, he had the look and everything. But the spot, I mean, Hogan versus Sid Justice, it's just like, and Harvey Whippleman is there for some reason. It's not great. I mean, you have Savage, Flair. It's the longest match on the show. It's for the WWF Championship, 18 minutes long. Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper, like Zach said. I mean, it's an awesome match. You got Undertaker taking on Jake Roberts, Shawn Michaels by himself taking on Tito Santana. Yeah, I mean, Tatanka's there. It's just a couple things here and there, but I probably have to put like in the mildest show.
It's supposed to be Rick and Hogan. Like, why can't you just put your ego aside, take a pin or something?
I don't know, man. Hogan is an enigma. He's just an attention-seeking enigma. Doc, how about you?
I'm going mild stage of them all. Is this the first time the WF title wasn't on the line as a main event?
Yeah, I think so.
So far, yeah.
No, WrestleMania 1. That was a tag.
Oh yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah. Since then, yeah. Shawn Michaels, cool stuff, but yeah, I'm going mild stage of them all.
All right, I dig it. Alrighty.
I think Repo Man was on this card too.
Let's see.
Yeah. He's with the Nasty Boys against Big Boss Man
and
Sergeant Slaughter. Who's an American again?
The Dream Team. Oh man. All right. Next up, we've got WrestleMania 9. This is, if you're a Hulkamaniac, this is your favorite WrestleMania. The man he avenged Bret Hart. He made everything right in the world. Bret Hart had lost to Yokozuna, and somehow magically Hulk Hogan is the first Money in the Bank winner because he just challenges for the title right after. Zach, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
This started getting me out of wrestling a little bit. I didn't watch it as much now just because it's just, I don't know. I was really happy for Bret Hart. I followed Bret Hart as a tag team back when they were in blue before the pink even, and it was just such a fucking letdown to see Hogan come. That just ruined any enjoyment. Heenan on the camel, everything just got ruined by Hogan coming down for me.
Yeah, it's a classic case of the main event just kind of sucks the life out of the whole show. It just destroys everything beforehand. Where would you rank it? Would you put it?
I'll put it house show.
House show. Okay. How about you, Knock?
I was gonna go lamest stage of them all. My favorite thing about this pay-per-view is the entrances and like the grandeur of it, the look of the stage and everything being in Caesar's Palace. But that ending killed it for me, man. I love that. It really did, man. Taker. I don't think Taker match is that good this year.
No.
Doink the Clown is on this card. I'm sorry. No, it's lamest stage ball.
I think I might go for lamest stage of them all. I think I'll go with that. Just the ending, Giant Gonzalez, and that I hate that outfit. I don't know why anyone would ever approve that. But yeah, I'll go with lamest stage of them all. How about you, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you two guys. I think it's lamest stage of them all. I mean, just the ending is obviously the most egregious thing on the show. Yoko's run was awesome. If you saw the Yoko doc on the network and just Hogan's reaction to him putting himself in that spot, just because it was like, oh, it's the international tour, Hogan's going away, they want Hogan, Yoko on top, the whole international tour. It's just a load of crap. It's bad. The powder in the eyes of Bret, and then he's like acting like Hogan, come save me, help me out at the end, let Hogan take that spot. Tatanka winning against Shawn Michaels, but via count out, he was undefeated at the time for the IC title. Tito Santana versus Papa Shango was the first match on the show. Doink versus Crush, Razor versus Bob Backlund, the terrible tag team match, Money Inc. versus the Mega Maniacs, Hogan and Brutus. That ends in disqualification. You have the narcissist Lex Luger taking on Perfect. Perfect loses again. Mr. Perfect losing every WrestleMania match he's in. It's the lamest show of them all. Stage of them all. It's just bad.
I dig that.
Yeah. It should have been Yoko's night, man. To speak on him, when I was with Rikishi, man, every time we teach us how to like get out of the ring, like if Yokozuna could do it, man, y'all should go do it. Like, come on, like, he always bring him as an example. It was just hilarious.
That is funny as hell. Oh man. All right. Next up, before we take a quick little break and talk about something else, we're going to hit up WrestleMania 10. This was the WrestleMania where we had Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels in the ladder match. We had Bret Hart and Lex Luger both challenging Yokozuna because of the Royal Rumble mishap. We also had Bret Hart and Owen Hart in the opening match. My opinion, the greatest opening match to WrestleMania ever. I'm going to put it in grandest stage of them all. That's my vote right away. And with that, I will toss it over to you, Anthony. Where would you put this?
I'm going to put this one in the This Is WrestleMania category, just because I have major issues with the 94 Rumble that they went with the two guys going out, right? That should have been Brett's moment to win the Rumble. He had the injury and all that. So I think that was the best time for him to win it. I hate Lex Luger. I can't stand. I mean, I hear he's an awesome guy now, but back then he probably wasn't. Even though Luger's stuff was cool when he slammed Yoko, showing up in the helicopter on the Intrepid and stuff like that. I mean, it's the fact that Luger had to be in this just in general, I think was just terrible. Owen, Brett, that's awesome. You know, this match and their SummerSlam match is awesome. Randy versus Crush in that Falls Count Anywhere match. I mean, I guess it is what it is. There's a couple of solid things, obviously the ladder match, and I mean it's pretty much a 3-match show. That's all it is. And finally, Brett gets his his crowning moment at WrestleMania. So I'm gonna put this one in this is WrestleMania. I
dig that. Can't hate that. How about you, Knock?
Yeah, this is WrestleMania for me as well. Brett versus Owen, another one I love to go back and study all their matches really, but this one in particular, the IC title match. And then the main event for Brett finally get that win. So this was cool to see that guy come over. You know, he was the whole thing was the IC title has been like the hardest working champ. Like that's the guy, and he finally get the big belt was cool.
I dig that. And Zach, over to you.
Another one. This is WrestleMania. Half of this doesn't really matter to me, but like the Owen Hart and the Bret Hart does. Roddy Piper being the ref for Bret getting the belt and their friendship in real life. That is a huge WrestleMania moment in my mind. I like that Alundra Blaze and Leilani Kai had a match. It was the 10th anniversary, so that was kind of a big deal. And the build up, watching this week by week, they did a really nice job with the packages each week. So yeah.
I want you to remember how you said this is the 10th anniversary, because when we get to WrestleMania 25, I'm gonna prove you and WWE wrong. But all right, that goes into this is WrestleMania. Good spot. Man, I really can't talk today. Good spot for this one. Before we go on to 11, we're going to take a quick little break. And Anthony, man, let the people know about your channel, because you've been one of the coolest channels to us on YouTube. You know, you're praising us, you're checking out the videos. So we'd love to hear about you and what you're up to, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Rated R for Rasslin on YouTube. You know, it's just I do my weekly reviews of all WWE programming and AEW programming pay-per-views as well. I come out with some interesting topical videos. I got some interesting ones out there. I'm coming out with one soon, maybe tomorrow. It's a series I've made of current and former superstars WWE just completely wasted. Episode 1 was Elias. Episode 2 is Cody Rhodes. Episode 3 is going to be on Cesaro. And I come out with some other stuff about just comparing the two companies, what they can learn from each other, how AEW is just a bit better than WWE, some things about NXT, just some topical videos. I'll drop some news and rumors there. But it's kind of like a jack of all trades type of show, type of channel. I just come out with a bunch of different things, stuff I find interesting, topical stuff. And yeah, I love collabing with everybody I've met so far. They've all been awesome, doing live shows with reviews and predictions for pay-per-views and stuff like this. It's awesome. I love conversing with different people about wrestling. It's one of my passions, just to talk about wrestling in general, and meeting new people that are of the same mindset when it comes to wrestling. We all kind of think the same, and I love hearing other people's opinions, even though some of them might be kind of out of the box or stuff I might not agree with in general. But it's good to have the conversation, right? And maybe if you can convince me, change my mind on certain things, I'm all for it. I'm all for that discourse. So I'm all for the wrestling community, even though sometimes we can complain a little bit too much about certain things, right? Even when stuff might be working positively, we might criticize a little bit too much. Like similar to the WrestleMania 5 main event, right? How long of a burn that storyline was. Nowadays, we've been complaining about it like 3 weeks in, and you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it's something I like to do, and I do the reviews with my brother, and yeah, it's a lot of work, but I like doing it. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, if you're watching, just come check out the channel, and you know, I love to hear your opinion. You know, some constructive criticism if you guys think I should change some stuff up, but I'm all for it. I'm completely open.
Very nice.
Definitely gonna check out that video you're gonna do about the wasted talent, because that's something I see all the time too. We talk about this all the time, so that's gonna be a good video.
Yeah,
a good series, I should say.
Very nice. Well, definitely check it out. We'll leave a link in the description. We're hoping to do another collab video, so hopefully this isn't just it. But you know what? Like I said, we're glad to have you here, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Fun. All right, we're gonna head over WrestleMania 11. We've got Razor Ramon defeating Shawn Michaels. We've got Bam Bam Bigelow gaining that revenge on Doink the Clown, and we've got Randy Savage selling his feud with Crush. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I knew nothing about this WrestleMania. At least I think so, because I was reading off the description, and I was like, what the hell? Bam Bam Bigelow and Doink the Clown? That's a real thing? That really happened? Was it good?
Bam Bam versus no.
I thought Bam Bam was Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I might be looking at the wrong WrestleMania. Okay, I'm looking at 10. Okay, there we go. That's
Looking
why.
at in your house.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What's going on here? There we go. We have Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow. There we go. That makes more sense. Did the whole video about him. We have Shawn Michaels facing off against Diesel. Jeff Jarrett retained his Intercontinental Championship against Razor Ramon. And Owen Hart and his mystery partner Yokozuna challenging the Smoking Guns. This one makes complete more sense to me. Knock, what do you think about this WrestleMania?
I think this was a good show. We're gonna start with the WF title, Diesel beating Shawn. That can go either way. I kind of enjoyed the match because their history together. Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow, that's a huge main event. Taylor was huge back in that day, man. You seen him everywhere. So I think it was a good show for me. Those two matches highlighting it. Oh, and then of course Bret Hart tapping out Bob Buckland. I think that's good for like legacy wise. That I Quit match and giving the sharpshooter some prestige, like some protection and stuff.
Yeah, I really dig that because I remember looking back at this time, I wasn't a big fan of Bob Backlund being in the position he was. So to have Bret Hart get that win over him, I dug that. I'll agree with you. I think I put in a good show also. How about you, Zach?
For me, this was the mildest stage. Bob Backlund didn't work for me growing up. It didn't work at all. Well, now in hindsight, sure, the legacy pin and all that. But I mean, when an NFL star has to save your pay-per-view, the talent's not right.
You know what? That is a good point.
Yeah.
There's things I see why people like about this one, but this one I never revisit except for that match.
That's fair enough. I think, when I look back at this Mania, I think about like what videos I could do on it. It's that match. There's really nothing else that's special about it. How about you, Anthony?
I'm gonna come in hot on this one. I think it's the lamest stage of them all. I couldn't stand this one. I honestly could not stand it for multiple reasons. Like, okay, so I understand the Bob Backlund thing. I didn't have a problem with that because remember in the 70s, he was a champion for like 4 years straight. Kind of like that American hero at the time, and him coming back is that obvious heel at the time. So it made a lot of sense. But the whole thing where he beat Brett and then he drops it to Diesel on a house show was ridiculous. I don't think Diesel should have been in the spot. I understand who he is. Shawn Michaels, won the Royal Rumble, gets his match against Diesel. You have Pam Anderson, Jenny McCarthy involved in there. So there's the whole thing around that. Shawn still loses. I think that should have been a spot for Shawn and Razor to be going for the title. Shawn is champion, Razor as the guy going after the title. I think that's probably would have been the perfect time to do this. Make that the main event. I understand Lawrence Taylor, he's a big star, obviously for the Giants, especially at the time. But yeah, again, if you have an NFL guy being in your main event and he's taking on Bam Bam, is one of the best big guys that we've seen in a long time, it's not right. It's just not. I don't think it should end the show that way. It's like if that were to happen right now, I mean, the internet community would be outraged completely. Like if you saw, I don't even know who you could pick. Honestly, let's put a guy like let's say Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis comes to the the WWE and has an immediate main event against Braun Strowman. It's just like it's everybody be complaining big time about it. You had Owen Hart, Yokozuna as a tag team for the tag team titles, taking on the Smoking Guns. Undertaker on King Kong Bundy. I mean, I feel bad for Undertaker during this era. He's just taking a lot of bad guys at WrestleMania. Razor taking on Jeff Jarrett. I mean, I just can't stand this one. So if me, it's the lamest stage of them all.
I mean, look at Gronk with the 24/7 title.
There you go.
Yeah. About that
Yeah. Ooh, any of you guys, Zach, Knock, you want to change your vote to lamest stage of them all, or you
can put it there? I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it might go there. That was a convincing argument, and I'm looking at WrestleMania 2 and 7. I'm like, would I watch this over that? And I think I'd actually watch 2 over this one, over 11.
I'm actually looking at 2 and thinking about moving it down one.
Yeah, really? Damn. I just really like Mr. T and Roddy Piper. All right. It goes down to the lamest stage of them all. Next up, WrestleMania 12. Of course, anytime WrestleMania goes California, it has to go Hollywood. It has to have that stupid theme. It never gets old. Bret Hart, he would lose the WWF Championship to Shawn Michaels in the 60-minute Iron Man match. Ultimate Warrior would defeat Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Roddy Piper would have his first match since 1994. Zach, what do you think about this show?
It's mildest stage of them all to me. Like at the time, I was happy because Piper was coming back, and that was a big deal. And I like that fight because it was different at the time. You did not get that at all on television with WWF. A lot of the rest of this was okay. You have like the characters kind of like going through not being solidified as like as they are today or as they were prior to this. So a lot of this was just kind of like okay. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. How about you, Doc?
Yeah, I don't remember this one too much actually. Besides like the main event, honestly, I'll go my stage of them all. But Shawn and Brett, that's always, even though they hated each other at this point, but they had chemistry.
Yeah. For the longest time, whenever I thought of an Iron Man match, I would think of this one. So that's why I mainly think about this WrestleMania 4. But I'll go mildest stage of them all. I'm cool with that. Anthony, how about you?
I would agree with you guys there, mildest stage of them all, because it is just basically the one match right at the end. It's a tremendous match. I mean, you go back and watch it, you're just kind of in awe of the match itself, because it's an hour-long match, only with one fall in sudden death overtime.
Yeah.
And it's just, the history going back of Shawn and Brett, so it makes it, I think, brings it up a couple levels at that point. Undertaker versus Diesel. The Ultimate Warrior thing, I think, is what makes it the mildest stage of them all, to be honest with you. He comes back, but I think he gets pedigreed and gets up immediately and then just wins the match. It's a minute 39, the match. So it's like, the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. I was a big fan of Goldust. I just like the over-the-top character. And it gets a little crazy at certain points of the match, but, especially when he undresses. But it's a lot of stuff going on here. It's not really all that great. It's a bad era for the company itself. Stone Cold making his WrestleMania debut against Savio Vega. It's just mildest stage of them all for me.
All right, I dig it. Unanimously agreed. Mildest stage of them all.
And this is when Undertaker had didn't he have purple gloves now, and he had that mask on, the Phantom of the Opera kind of mask.
Yeah.
It's just like they're trying to throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks.
But no, didn't he get the mask because somebody broke his nose in the Rumble or something?
I think it was Mabel heard him in a In Your House or a house show, one of those two, and then he wore the mask after that for Survivor Series or something like that. I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think he had it off by I could be wrong, but I think he had it off by WrestleMania. I'm not sure.
Let us know in the comments. All right, next up, WrestleMania 13, Undertaker versus Psycho Sid. Undertaker would win due to interference from Bret Hart. We have Bret Hart versus Stone Cold in a submission match. Legion of Doom and Ahmed Johnson versus Nation of Domination in a Chicago street fight. Anthony, what are your thoughts on WrestleMania 13?
13, I'm gonna put in the good show territory. I just think it's basically it's just remembered for Austin bleeding. That's all it's remembered for the most part. I think, to me anyways, that's what I remember the most about it. It's one of the best matches you'll see. That, and then the the Survivor Series match that they had at the Garden prior to this, I think it was. Yeah, so when Bret first came back, that's probably a better match than this one, but this match is obviously good. But it's just, you look at the card now, the Chicago Street Fight, Ahmed, Legion of Doom versus Nation of Domination. It was all right. Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker. I'm a big Psycho Sid guy, so I enjoyed it. Plus, it's Undertaker's probably at that time crowning achievement. He finally gets a good matchup for WrestleMania for the most part. He had Diesel the year before, and then he has Psycho Sid. He's on a little bit of a run of getting the trash out the way that he got previously. Now he got some better stuff. But yeah, to me it's a good show. It's just mainly because of Austin and Bret.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Just like the last one, I always think of one match particularly this Mania, and it's Austin Bret. Yeah, I think good show is exactly where I would put it. How about you, Knock?
Yeah, good show is exactly where I put it. I'll always go back to Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, and yeah, like you said, that's the most memorable for the blood and stuff at the end. But it really, Stone Cold in a loss came out very strong. I think The Rock debuted on this one as well, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it was cool to see Taker get a title. So yeah, I'll go good show.
Yeah. How about you, Zach?
I'll say mildest stage of them all. The Bret and Austin thing was fantastic. Yeah, seeing Undertaker get a title was fine, and the build-up with Taker and Sid was good. Two big men. But the rest of this card is just people cutting their teeth into a big event, or people with big names not doing that much on a big event. So it was way too much filler for me.
That's fair enough. For right now, we'll put it at the low end of good show. 3 votes in good show. Next up, we go to WrestleMania 14. This would be Shawn Michaels' last match until 2002, where he would face Stone Cold Steve Austin, with Mike Tyson being a big part of the feud. I'm gonna go ahead and pass over to you, Knock. Do you have any special memories of this match, of this event?
Yeah, this main event was huge for me with the Mike Tyson event. This is all I think about for this pay-per-view. But there was actually also some good stuff as well. I remember watching Triple H and Owen Hart with China as well. The IC match with The Rock and Ken Shamrock. I'm gonna go. I think it's a good show for me, honestly. Especially that main event, man. That puts it over anything for me. And I think Undertaker actually, this is when Undertaker's finally getting better matchup. He had Kane, so that was really good.
Yeah. I'm gonna go one above you and say this is WrestleMania. Okay. I really love the Mike Tyson stuff. Undertaker and Kane. I think that is like, whenever I think of them together, I think of this feud. I don't think of anything they did like in their last run together. So yeah, I'll put in this is WrestleMania. How about you, Anthony?
To be honest with you, this one I'm gonna go mildest. I think it's a step down from 13. Shawn and Austin, I mean, with Tyson, it elevates it, but the match itself, I just didn't think it was really all that. I mean, if you hear Austin talk about it now, he says Shawn was such in a bad place at the time that they didn't have the match that they probably should have. It's Austin's, it's the Austin era, as Jim Ross is after the match. So it's memorable for that, and it took the company from like where it was to like publicly traded it within a couple, within a year or so. Just that. So if you look at it in that aspect, I mean, it is a really good show in that term. The dumpster match, it's interesting match between Chainsaw Charlie. I thought it was a terrible gimmick for Terry Funk, with Cactus Jack against the Outlaws. Undertaker versus Kane. I think the match went a little bit too long. It was 17 minutes. I don't think that match between Undertaker and Kane should go that long. Triple H and Owen, very good match. Couple things here and there. I mean, the Mark Merrill Goldust stuff, I wasn't really feeling it. The Rock and Ken Shamrock, it only went, I see here, 4:49. That's a short match. I think they should have took time off the Undertaker match and added it maybe to that one. So I'm gonna put this one in mildest for me.
I think that. All right, Zach, you got a 3-way tie. How you gonna break it?
I'm gonna kind of go in the middle here. I'm gonna say it's a good show. A lot of this at the time was huge because of the Mike Tyson, Stone Cold Michaels thing. It was coming off like almost the hottest point of the Monday Night Wars. Ratings wise, maybe not, I don't know. But we're coming off of Rick Rude being on Nitro and Raw the same night. We're coming off of like, we don't know what's going to happen at a pay-per-view, let alone on a Monday night show. So to have this happen, and the card was booked well. So the card was booked with you wanting to get to that end point, if not also Undertaker and Kane. So at the time, with all the build-up and watching the weekly shows and understanding the hype of the Monday Night Wars, this is a very well done Mania. Looking back on it, it loses a little bit of steam because you don't have that hype train to hop on. Yeah. So that's why I put it on a good show.
All right. I dig it. 2 votes in the good show. That's where it shall go. All right, next up, we've got ourselves WrestleMania 15. We've got Stone Cold Steve Austin facing The Rock in a no DQ match for the WWF Championship. The Undertaker wrestling Big Boss Man. This is where he would do the hanging spot that you might see every now and then. Uncomfortable to some, uncomfortable to the rest. And then we have Bart Gunn and Butterbean. Ooh. I can't wait to do I normally do a video about the Brawl for All, and I can't wait to do it because I love revisiting this moment. It's just so badly done. Like, he could have had a real star in Bart Gunn. But I'm gonna pass over to you, Anthony. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 15?
WrestleMania 15, I look at it and I want to put it higher because it was The Rock and Austin's first time at Mania, right? But I'm going to put it in the mildest of them all, just because there's various reasons as to why I do it. You have the Mankind Big Show thing, right? It was like a singles match. He becomes a special guest referee in the main event. It's just like blah, right? For me, it just didn't really hit. You got Shane versus Test. Shane versus X-Pac, for the European Championship. It's like, not really a match you really cared about. Undertaker, Boss Man. When you had, the Brood come down and then they hung Boss Man, but then the Brood were kind of stuck up there on top of the Hell in the Cell when they were just kind of chilling. It was just all bad. It's like really bad. Like the way it all came off, it's just bad. And the hanging was ridiculous. But when it comes to Butterbean and Bart Gunn, could you have screwed a guy over more than you did to Bart Gunn? The whole Brawl for All rights, that's what they said on Dark Side of the Ring, created for Dr. Death Steve Williams to win it and then take on Steve Austin. That was like the whole point of it. But they didn't expect Bart Gunn to have such a great left hand, right?
Right.
So he drops Dr. Death's ass quick, and that was just like a shock. And then I guess at that point you have Jim Ross talking to Vince and says, look, we can't push this guy. I wanted Dr. Death to win it. That was my guy, right? He's the Oklahoma guy, so I want him. And I just think this whole thing was absolute disaster. It's one of the things people shit on the most. I think WWF has done, and probably the thing people shit on the most that Vince Russo's done. So I'd put this one in that mildest stage.
I completely agree with you. I have a very I'm very biased because of Shane McMahon. Like before his last run, he was the greatest wrestler of them all, because he was my favorite character in all of wrestling. So anytime he's on like a card, I have to give it a little bump. But I think I'll just give this one the mildest stage of them all. What's you, Knock? What do you think?
Yeah, this is pretty mild for me also. I can't believe I'm saying that with the Rock and Stone Cold, headlining the show. A few things here, like the tag team titles with Owen Hart, Jeff Jarrett for Steel Brown and Test. Like, that's okay. Kane, Triple H. Yeah, it's gonna be mild for me. Sorry, D-Lo, for dropping the fork. But
Zach, how about you?
Yeah, this was mild to me too. At the time, it was more towards this is WrestleMania again because of the build-up. You have the characters being the characters. Everyone was solid. Big Show getting hung at the time was, I don't know. I dug it at the time, but again, like you pointed out, Anthony, the boot is stuck up there. Undertaker didn't give him a ride home. It's a lot when you look back. A lot of people admire the Attitude Era and they want the Attitude Era back because they remember the build up and the hype that was involved with it, with the Monday Night Wars. When you go back and you watch something like this, then you can start to see the flaws. And Bart Gunn is a great example of never show your boss how much work you can actually do. That left hook he shouldn't have shown him because now he wouldn't have gotten screwed over. So they want you to work more and do better, and then you just get fucked. But yeah, it's mild.
Completely agree. All right. Next up, I think this is one that we can all talk about favorably. At least I hope so. WrestleMania 2000. We would have here the three-way ladder tag team match between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudleys. We'd have a two-fall triple threat match for the Intercontinental and European Championships involving Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit. And a match that I can only describe as being booked as something from like a video game. A McMahon in every corner. Triple H versus The Rock versus Mick Foley and The Big Show. Knock, I think I asked you this in one of our Tic Tac trivia questions, and you got it wrong. So I'll let you redeem yourself. Do you know which McMahon was in which corner?
No, I still don't remember that, honestly.
Anthony, do you know?
But
I
only know because I have it in front of me. That's it.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Doc?
No, I'll let him go for a set. You got it.
So basically, it was Linda McMahon in Mick Foley's corner. Vince. Shit, I'm shaming you. I think I forgot it now. Shit. Anthony, what was it?
All right, so we have Triple H obviously with Stephanie McMahon, The Rock with Mr. McMahon, Mick Foley with Linda, and Big Show with Shane.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farm remembers, but you don't have to.
I always remember Big Show and Mick Foley because they get like the leftovers versus like the others. They get like the real part of the story.
Yeah.
But Zach, where would you put this WrestleMania?
This is a tough one because that main event wasn't a main event to me. The McMahons inserting themselves, it just got muddy and it just didn't work. Honestly, that main event shouldn't even have main evented it. A lot of people were putting the matches here just kind of randomly at the time, like Too Cool in China beating Guerrero, Saturn, and Malenko, who were part of the Radicals. But it's just a lot of like weird storytelling where people are kind of going off different. I'll relate it to AEW. AEW always has like someone on a trajectory and then they get torn off that trajectory and then they're in random feuds.
Yep.
That's what this felt like to me, this WrestleMania. Great matches here and there though. In that ladder match, I mean, fuck, you know what? I'll put it in good show. Maybe I'll settle with This Is WrestleMania if that's where it goes.
How about you, Knock? Where would you put this one?
Yeah, that ladder match carries it for me to This Is WrestleMania. Like, a lot of good stuff here, like the triple threat match. I thought was really cool. But it's a little sour to me now, obviously. But that ladder match puts it in This Is WrestleMania for me.
All right, Anthony.
I'm gonna put it in the good show, but on the lower end of the good show. The main event, I mean, it's so bad. It's just they wanted to do the service to Mick Foley and give him that main event spot at WrestleMania, right? Because the way he's put his body in the line. The Big Show Rock thing at the Royal Rumble 2000, when I think it was kind of a botch, and he's kind of just like, all right, let's just we'll make it a fatal 4-way after that. Remember, Backlash the month after is the return of Austin, and they have Rock beat Triple H because of Austin to win the title. So it's what they should have done at this WrestleMania for the main event, rather than have this convoluted thing going on and then swap the title the month after the way you probably should have done it. Benoit Jericho angle, I mean, can you have a bad match? I don't think so. I don't think it's possible those three guys together can have a bad match.
No.
Obviously you had, so it's basically the ladder match. So I leave it in the lower end of the good show. But Zach, I mean, that's a tremendous point that I always think about myself, is that you see that AEW thing where a guy goes up and then it just kind of disappears. And similar to here, it's true. It's just that's a very good point by you for the AEW thing. But yeah, I'd have to put it in that. Well, let's talk about the Battle Royal for the Hardcore Championship. I mean, you had Taz, who debuted at the Royal Rumble in 2000, only a few months prior, and then he's stuck in this Battle Royal that was absolute just cluster of guys in this battle. We had the Mean Street Posse. I mean, in the end, I think Hardcore Holly was the last guy standing. I think he's the one that Crash was the champion. He ends up winning it. I mean, it's just really not all that for me in this one.
Taz and Kurt were supposed to be just bigger than they were at the time. Kurt got there quicker by far, but Taz was supposed to be so big in WWF that I think this is where they started faltering with people. So they just stuck him in the hardcore scene because, we're going to do some good with you. Oh, wait, now we got these 4 guys that we want to put in the main event. We got Austin coming back later. Let's forget about some of these other talents, and that's where they get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe it will go into good show. I'll agree with you and Zach and Anthony, because when I think of this match, this card, I really do love the triple threat match for the IC and European Championship, and that tag match is phenomenal. For me, it's those 2 matches that really elevate it for me. The main event was corny. Mm-hmm. All right. Next show we've got WrestleMania X7. This would have Shane McMahon versus try that again. Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon. China would defeat Ivory. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. Kane would defeat Raven and Big Show. And Stone Cold Steve Austin would defeat The Rock for the WWF Championship. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I'll say this is WrestleMania. This felt like it was put together legitimately. Like, everyone was where they're supposed to be in the card. There are fantastic matches, the atmosphere, the advertising, everything worked in here. So that's my take. This is WrestleMania.
I'll agree with you. I forgot to mention the TLC Tag Team Championship match, of course, but this is a fun card. I would love to watch this right now even. So I'm definitely putting this in. This is WrestleMania. How about you, Anthony?
This is my all-time favorite event, WrestleMania. I put it in the grandest stage of them all, and that's my number 1 WrestleMania I've ever seen, and for multiple reasons. I mean, Undertaker versus Triple H in this one is a really good match. Shane versus Vince McMahon is actually kind of a fun match to watch. Obviously, you got the ladder match where they added so many other players. Spike, you had Spike in there, you had Lita, and Rhino, so there's other people involved in there. They had that funny-ass gimmick battle royal that Brother Love was in. I find that triple threat for the Hardcore Championship actually pretty funny. I mean, I think it was Kane that was driving a golf cart back there, first guy to do it. It wasn't Kenny and Matt. Chris Jericho versus William Regal is not a bad match. It only goes 7 minutes, but it wasn't a bad match. It was actually pretty good. You got Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. I mean, it don't get much better than that. Those 2 guys going at it. It's just, I think it's a really, really solid card all the way down. Obviously, you have the main event, Stone Cold versus The Rock. Both, and then the build up, right? Remember that my way video package where they're doing the interview with Jim Ross and they're taking I have to beat you, Rock. I have to take that title. This is one of the best build ups I've ever seen, especially video packages by WWE at the time. The turn at the end, in hindsight, didn't really work out that well, right? It wasn't the right move. He should have just dropped Vince's ass right there on the spot and just walked out. Because he is in Houston, it's his home territory. So I just think it's the biggest main event in the history of WrestleMania. Austin versus The Rock at this time period, and the build up for it was just so well done, especially the video packaging. And for me, it's the best WrestleMania of all time to me.
You know, I'm looking at the rest of the WrestleManias. I'm asking myself, is there anyone that I would put above this for the grandest stage of them all? And honestly, not really. So I'll change my vote. I'll put him in the grandest stage of them all for S class.
Was it that Limp Bizkit music that pushed you over there?
That thing was popular.
Yeah, they were hot
It
right
was at the
there.
time.
It was popular. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fast forward button today. But.
How about you, Doc? Where would you put this one?
I'm gonna go. This is WrestleMania, but damn, this is a hell of a card, man. Everything, like you guys said, Angle, Chris, the TLC match, 2 years in a row. I think they stole the night, and that's one. The main event's amazing. Stone Cold, The Rock. That's it. That was it for me as watching as a kid. But I'm still gonna go. This is WrestleMania. I think there's one that I enjoy more personally for WrestleMania, but this is it.
Okay.
It seems like they took the triple threat TLC match and told everyone else on the card, "Hey, we're doing this again this year."
Yeah,
And so everyone was like, "Oh shit! I really have to put on a good match." Every match delivered on this card.
that's for sure. And like you said with what's his name, Jericho and Regal, with 7 minutes, man, that's insane. I didn't know that match was that short. They really know how to work.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a pretty solid match for being so short. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have 2 votes for Mania and grandest stage of them all, but because I'm the one controlling it, I'm going to cheat and put it in the grandest stage of them all.
Somebody
And then-
sounds like Hulk Hogan here. It doesn't work for me, brother.
Believe me, with those title
Yeah,
reigns
make
he
the
has,
connections.
I think so.
Yep. Anthony, you're his Brutus the Barber tonight.
Oh God.
Exactly. You're in good company. All right, next up, we're going over to WrestleMania X8, the Icon versus Icon, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock.
Sting was in this match.
Touche. This would be the match that I think just completely killed the main event. Chris Jericho and Triple H just took away energy from everyone. Zach, what are your thoughts on this Mania?
Yeah, bad booking on that. I don't know why they didn't put this as the main event when everything was about these two, The Rock and Hogan, fighting. You can bump your title down a little bit. Yeah, this was a good pay-per-view. Oh man, that Rock and Hogan, man, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Like crowd-wise too.
Yeah, and I'll give Hogan. This is the only props I'll ever give Hogan in his life. That they knew to swap it right away when the crowd was cheering for him and booing The Rock. They knew right away. Okay, let's just change on the fly.
Yeah,
They made it work.
I'll get your guys' opinions and then you can persuade me.
Okay. I really hate. This is stupid, but I really like when shows are booked like on paper. I kind of like that, and they didn't book this one right. The main event was poorly placed, so for that, it kind of makes me put in good show, just because of how the format went. How about you, Anthony?
I'd agree. Good show for me on this one. It should have been the main event. It's funny because if you go back to WrestleMania 8, you have Sid versus Hogan not for the title being the main event, and then the title being pushed down the card. And then this is the opposite, right? You have Hollywood versus Rock, and that's not the main event. You wanted to keep Jericho and Triple H, I guess, because Triple H where he was in the company. They want to favor him a little bit more. I don't know, but if you look at Hulk Hogan after this, he had his best in-ring work when he took on guys after this, right? That like 02, 03 Hogan. When he came back as the red and yellow, when he had those matches against Brock, Undertaker, Triple H, even Jericho, he's had solid matches after this run. But look at this, Stone Cold versus Scott Hall is on this card. I mean, why? It's just like that match should have never happened. If Scott Hall was healthy, then maybe it would have been a fine match. But Undertaker Ric Flair is actually a really good match on this show. Undertaker and Ric Flair. If you hear the Undertaker, he said Ric Flair too. He said that's what got Ric Flair's confidence back and brought him back to feeling like Ric Flair again. And it was a really good match. I mean, DDP versus Christian. Yeah, RVD versus William Regal. You got Maven on the card. Maven's on the card. Edge versus Booker T. Yeah, it's just like. It's so poorly booked and placed, everything on the card. And Stone Cold versus Scott Hall just feels forgotten completely. And it's just a disservice to Austin at the time. Rock Hogan should have been the main event. The title match was a good match, but it drops down because of the crowd not really caring because they already saw the match they wanted. So right. I put it in the good show.
And this was also the event where this is where the IC Championship and the European Championship merged. Rob Van Dam and Regal.
I don't think so.
No, I thought it was the year prior. Angle had both.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Knock, how about you? Where are you putting this?
Yeah, like I love Chris Jericho, man, and he's forced himself into that greatest of all time conversation. But I always feel like when he's the main guy, he gets upstaged somehow. Like when we went to Double or Nothing and we saw Jericho versus Omega in the main event, Cody versus Dustin happened right before that, and that was like the best match of the year. And then this one, when you have Rock and Hogan before him, man, I just feel like he gets a short end of the stick when this happens. But it was still a great, well, I can't say great card, but Rock Hogan, very memorable. And I do like that Taker Ric Flair match. This is again Taker finally getting good people to add on his notch on his belt for this streak. But I think it's a good show all around for me.
Fair enough. Zach, did we get your vote already?
No, but I'll put it in good show. I mean, I honestly was going to probably put it in Wildest Stage of them all. So here's why, is because I was lucky enough to go to the No Way Out that happened before where the NWO came back. They started off with the NWO coming out, and the NWO was very polite, and obviously they were tricking them and whatever, but it was such a weird way to introduce the NWO onto your brand. It was clearly Vince didn't care about the NWO. He just wanted the name recognition on the pay-per-view and this build-up. Nash nashed himself out of the pay-per-view by walking or however he tore or whatever. And then Scott Hall and Steve Austin made absolutely no sense. So for them to do this with the NWO was just a very weird thing. Undertaker Flair was fine, and then of course Austin and Rock versus Hogan.
Nash nashed himself. That's funny.
All right, goes into good show. Every time I think of this Mania, also, I'm very convinced that Jericho never forgot this moment, or forgot this feud, where Stephanie kind of took focus from his championship reign.
Yeah.
Because to this day, I still think that what Stephanie was to Jericho was to Kevin Owens when he was Universal Champion. I think he never forgot that, and he's like, I'm gonna be Stephanie one day.
I mean, it was supposed to be him and Owens for the Universal belt at Mania, but then that got scrapped.
Yeah. All right, next up, WrestleMania 19. My God, there's a lot of WrestleManias. We have the first WrestleMania to be promoted under the WWE name and the first to have taken place after the WWE brand extension. So we have Raw and SmackDown. The official theme was Crack Addict by Limp Bizkit, and times were good. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar was the main event, where we all saw Brock Lesnar just break his neck and somehow just keep on going. This unfortunately was also where we had Triple H and Booker T in one of the saddest moments of my life, just watching Triple H hit the pedigree and just crawl and take his time for that pinfall. I don't look back at this Mania favorably. Zach, what do you think about this Mania?
I know there's decent stuff on here, but it's not one I really go back to and remember a lot about it. The women's matches at the time I thought were good. Jazz was in the previous Mania. She's again in here, and Victoria's my girl right there. I didn't like Triple H beating Booker at the time. I was getting Hogan on him, and the Hogan Vince thing, that was a stupid match. I think the last two matches were the best things on the pay-per-view. I'll put it as a good show.
Yeah. How about you, Anthony?
I'm actually going to put it on the grandest stage of them all to me. I just look at the card itself. It's one of those ones you watch and you don't really go back and think of it that well. But if you do go back and watch it, I mean, the Booker T situation was the bad choice, but the match was a good match. It's just, they just picked the wrong guy to win the match. I think it should have been Booker T's time to win the championship at that point. Hogan McMahon, it's not a good match, but it's a match that, it's like Hogan. It's like McMahon when he did McMahon Brett. It's kind of a match you have to kind of end up doing, right? Because there's just so much backstage storyline intertwined in there that it's just a match that it's going to get people in, but it's a 20-minute match. It's just super long for no reason.
Yeah. The
Rock Austin, this is probably maybe they're out of the three Mania matches they had, this might be the best one they did. Lesnar Angle, it's obviously a really good match, even though Lesnar almost kills himself. And then look at this tag team match. You have Team Angle, Haas and Benjamin going against Chris Benoit, Rhino, and Los Guerreros, Chavo and Eddie. So really, it's only 8 minutes, but it was a pretty good match. And then don't forget Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. That's the best match on the show. It's a really good match to me when I saw it. And I just think, Undertaker gets the short end of the stick here. He takes on Big Show and A-Train in a 1-on-2 handicap match. Rey Mysterio makes his WrestleMania debut. I think to me, it's probably grandest stage of them all, but for me personally, in the lower end of grandest stage of them all.
I think if we didn't have it's one promo that drops it down to good show for me. People like you don't win championships. It's that promo that just ruins everything for me. If that promo never happens, and if Triple H pins him like a normal person, then I think it's grandest stage of them all for me. But it's just that one moment that sours it enough for me to drop it 2 ranks. But everything you say is absolutely right. Like without those 2 things, this is grandest stage of them all. What about you, Knock?
Yeah, again, Rey Mysterio is my favorite of all time. I love that he debuted here, and it was a cool match with Matt, even though he didn't win. And then Michaels versus Jericho, that is a special match, man. That match was amazing. Lesnar, Kurt, but yeah, that Booker stuff kills it for me. I don't want to go good show. I would go This Is WrestleMania. Yeah, this was a hell of a WrestleMania for me, man.
Zach, your vote was
outside of the Booker Triple H stuff.
I'll say it's a good show, but honestly, I have not rewatched this one. I watched it live, and I'm going off of that way back when memory.
I can sell for This Is WrestleMania. I do love that team angle match, and this is Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio. So I do, like I said, it's just that one thing that just sours it for me. So I'm going to put in This Is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Next up, the second match of the 3, I don't know how I actually say this, but 10, 20, 30, a traditional wrestling wrestler would win the main event and get the big title. This was the second of the 3, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. We also had Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar with Stone Cold as special guest referee. Not that great. John Cena, everyone's favorite hero, making his WrestleMania debut at the event by defeating the Big Show. You guys can't see it, but I'm putting this in the grandest stage of them all because John Cena's debut. Zach, I know you agree with me, but what are your thoughts on this Mania?
I'll put this into This Is WrestleMania. And if you think it's higher, I agree with you there, just because the pops for the champs those nights were huge. It was good storytelling. And again, I feel like a lot of characters were where they're supposed to be, booking-wise and character-wise. I enjoyed the hell out of this one.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony?
Yeah, I would agree. I put it on the high end of This Is WrestleMania and just underneath grandest stage of them all. Because when I first saw it, I didn't like it. But when I go back and watch it, I can appreciate how good it actually was. I wasn't a huge fan of the Evolution Rock and Sock handicap match. It was what it was. I mean, it went long, 17 minutes I have here. John Cena versus Big Show was cool. I mean, John Cena winning the US title. Goldberg and Lesnar, I mean, people just shit on it like from the get-go, so it really didn't have a chance to really get going, and they didn't really know how to handle it. And on top of that, I don't think they really cared either.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that like the internet really fucked up for them.
Exactly.
That was the internet found out that day. People at the stadium there too were finding out that day that both people were leaving the company. Yeah, and it really, I like I said, they feel like they didn't care or they just didn't know how to handle it. And most likely Goldberg, because he's kind of like all over the place. Christian versus Chris Jericho was an awesome match. It had that whole Trish turning heel thing. You got Eddie versus Kurt. Obviously, you already know what you're gonna get out of that one. That's amazing. I believe that's the one when Eddie took off his boot and he won the match. Yeah, because he put the ankle lock on him and the boot came off and he ended the match. Yeah. And just that run for Eddie, it was just tremendous. It was so well done. Undertaker making the comeback from American Badass back to the Dead Man, taking on Kane. Not the best match, but it was what it was. And then obviously Chris Benoit's match was so good. I actually went to the Raw after this because this was at the Garden. I went to the Raw in New Jersey after that, and it was awesome. I mean, it just was, and I would put it just underneath grandest stage of them all.
Nice. Was that Raw at the old Net Stadium?
Yeah, the Izod. Yep.
Yeah. That place is dope. Yeah, I think this is WrestleMania for me as well. I love this pay-per-view, and Eddie winning Eddie retaining against Kurt Angle, man, that's a hell of a fucking match. I watch that a lot.
Very
that
nice.
Main event, this is a great pay-per-view, man. I love this one.
I dig it.
Yeah, they really had a Playboy Eat Big Gal match on this.
It would take us a while to get this evolution. All right now it goes, and this is WrestleMania. All right. Next up, WrestleMania goes Hollywood. We would see the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. we would have the 30-man interpromotional battle royal. Rey Mysterio would defeat Eddie Guerrero. The Undertaker would defeat Randy Orton. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels would have their classic match, and this is where Batista would go out on his own and defeat Triple H for the heavyweight championship. And of course, Anthony, if you haven't got it by now, we're all huge John Cena marks on this channel. John Cena would defeat John Bradshaw Layfield.
Fucking chair.
Oh man. Just from a personal point of view, I think this was actually the first WrestleMania as a fan that I actually like. Cause I was a kid, like I got into. I was like, oh, this is WrestleMania, it's happening. Okay, I want to watch this. So it gets bonus points for me, and I'm gonna put in This Is WrestleMania just for nostalgia and all those great matches. Zach, over at you.
You're putting it there because Eugene's in there and Cena won.
I love Eugene.
I'll put this in a good show. Maybe I just don't remember it that well, but the stuff I do remember, obviously Batista winning. I honestly at the time too didn't think John Cena should have won. I was actually kind of a John Cena fan at this time, before he started appearing everywhere and taking everyone's shots. But like JBL was doing such good work. I thought like this could be like the one title that doesn't change at WrestleMania. So, but again, we got a Piper's Pit with Austin, so I'm always happy for Piper.
That's where I defer with you. I truly hated JBL. So to his credit, he did a good job, but he really pissed me off a lot throughout that year of his reign. So I was glad he lost. This is WrestleMania for me, man. Batista, Rey Mysterio getting their win. Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, man. Damn. Yeah. Is this the one where Shelton did his famous Money in the Bank spot? His run the ladder?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. This Mania was amazing, man. This was so good.
How about you, Anthony?
I'm gonna put it in the good show, but at the higher part of the good show, just under This Is WrestleMania. Look at the first match, the interpromotional 30-man battle royal. Booker T wins. Like Booker T, like 2 years prior, I believe, was in the championship match. Now he's in a interpromotional battle royal later on, right? You got Ray versus Eddie. You already know what you're gonna get out of it. It wasn't like up to par with their match at WCW at Halloween Havoc, but it was still really good. The first Money in the Bank with Edge winning. The guys in that match, I mean, Benoit, Jericho, Christian Kane, Shelton Benjamin, Undertaker versus Orton. I mean, it's a solid match. Nothing super wrong with it, but it's just, that whole time period for me from 21 to about 25 all kind of meshed together for me, these WrestleManias. It kind of you kind of can't remember what match happened where, but this was actually a pretty good show. Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, the best match on the show by far. I mean, they're just so good, these two guys together. It's amazing. Yeah. The sumo match, you kind of forget about that. Aki Bono versus Big Show. That was a disaster. I like John Cena. I like that he won here. It was awesome to see him win, and Batista to see him win as well, because it was like the kind of the new guard coming in to kind of carry the company afterwards. And I thought it's a good show. It is a really good show.
Yeah, I argue sometimes that Kurt Angle Michaels might be one of the best matches in Mania history.
Yeah, it's up there definitely.
Yeah. If you heard the Kurt Angle podcast that he's been doing lately, but he talked about this match and he said Vince told them to decide who would win, who would go over, and Sean told him he wanted Kurt to go over because originally he was supposed to go against Batista, and he wanted him to look big. He wanted him to be like a huge star against Batista. But it didn't happen. I'm gonna go ahead and compromise and put this at the low end, the lowest end of This Is WrestleMania, the very, very low end, because Eugene saves the day.